like to inform you that this meeting is being videoed. Members of the public are entitled to record the proceedings and are requested to give prior notice so that any additional measures that may assist can be put into place. Any member of the public who has any concern should raise them now. Thank you. So item 1 on the agenda, apologies for absence. We have not. Item 2 is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Has any members of the Cabinet got any interest to declare? No? Thank you. Come on to the minutes of our last meeting that was held on the 10th and 17th of February respectively. Can I sign those as a true record? Has that been moved? Yes. Seconded? All those in favour? Sure, thank you. We do have a public question, item 4 from Mr. Bernard Wills, I believe. Would you like to you've had a response, so if you can just ask any supplementary.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My supplementary question is, in the light of recent budget projections for leisure, why is the council even considering building a new pool when the cheaper option of refurbishing the quarry pool would meet short to medium terms?
I think George can answer.
Thank you, Chair. You're absolutely right, Bernard. As you know from the January Cabinet paper, at the moment, worst case scenario, to ensure that we achieve a balanced budget would potentially mean that swimming pools, leisure centres would be at risk. In terms of the new swimming pool facilities for Shrewsbury, it very much depends on the final option. And I think what will happen is the Cabinet paper will come forward with a preferred location. We're sort of 80% through the work now, so we'll come forward with a preferred location at the July Cabinet meeting. And I think in that paper, not only will the preferred location be articulated, but also next steps, factoring in funding pressures that we have, but also depending on the location, where we might want to go next in terms of against that preferred location. So I know it's a bit ifs, buts and maybes at the moment, but it very much depends on the outcome of that Cabinet decision in July as to what happens next.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have no matters referred from scrutiny. So item 6 on the agenda, the redesign of the visitor information services in North West Shropshire. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This paper outlines the work Shropshire Council has been undertaking, working with partners to redesign visitor information services in the northwest of Shropshire. Since 1987, an information centre has been provided by successive councils at the Mile End service area on the A5 near Oswestry. The report outlines the process which has been undertaken to recommission the offer by other organisations as well as Shropshire Council. Subject to Cabinet approval and following 2 consultations, the Council proposes to enter into a contract with Oswestry Borderland Tourism Association to deal with the inquiries from visitors which come in by phone, post and email. The current office at Mile End will close and personal callers will be offered a range of alternative sources of information provided in Oswestry itself, at the Heritage Centre and at a tourist attraction at tourist attractions in the immediate neighbourhood. A tourist information board will be provided at Mile End, signposting visitors to those sources for information. I move the report.
First, seconded. Does anybody want to talk to that? It's been, the recommendation to has been moved and seconded. If there's nobody wishes to debate that, offer to the vote. All those in favour? Is anybody against? Right, it's carried. Thank you. We move on to item 7. That's an application by Burford and Tenbury Wells. Mark.
Thank you, Leader. I'll be brief. I think it's pretty straightforward. You'll recall even at the last Cabinet meeting we had an application for a neighbourhood plan. This is another one, as you say, from Burford and Tenbury Wells. The only difference I think on the significant difference with this one is the first one we've had where it's actually shared over 2 different authority areas, which I suppose may create a few issues. However, Tenbury and Burford have worked together for a number of years and produced a price plan back in 2004 and 2012. So they're not, it's not as if they're not used to working together. I think it's been advertised for the 6-week period it's needed. It's interesting, during that 6-week period, Leader, there was quite a lot of interest from the representative bodies. When I say that, if you turn to put 7.2 of the report, you'll see that Environmentation, Natural England, Historic England have a significant interest. I think that's probably because we were all well aware of Tenbury Wells' issues, particularly around the flooding period, so that's why that's in there. The plan will be led by Tenbury and Malvern Hills District Council, not ourselves, but it will come to ourselves and them for assessing at the end, and also there will be a referendum in both areas. So I look forward to the report when it comes forward.
So you move the report?
Move that.
Let's second it? Yeah. Does anybody want to debate that?
Only very quickly that I welcome this. Sorry. Show my face is like that. I welcome this because it's been a peculiar situation on that boundary with the community hospital and most of the employment on one side of the river and the shops, etc. on the other. And it has caused not problems but difficulties, which it's very nice to see that the 2 bureaucratic local authorities have been able to iron out anything like that. The only concern I have is that what sort of monitoring responsibilities will we have, particularly when it comes to any sort of planning suggestions and that type of thing. So I just want to be reassured that I can be part of my LJC. I want to be able to reassure the LJC that we're not abandoning Burford to the neighbouring county. Thank you, Chairman.
No?
Yeah, just to reply, thank you, Madge. I totally agree with that. I'm comfortable that I say they've worked together before. From that point of view you're asking, there will be independent assessments carried out of the report by both authorities. So it has to conform with not only their regulations but also ours before it can go forward. So I'm confident that will be covered off.
Okay.
Thank you,
Does anybody else want to talk to the motion? No? In that case, I'll put it to the vote. Recommendations laid out in 2. All those in favour, please show. Anybody against? That's carried. Thank you. So we move on now to paper 8, provision and support of refugees, asylum seekers in Shropshire's Mark Price again.
Thank you, Leader. If you'll bear with me, I would like to say a few words about the paper before we go on to accepting the recommendations within it. Firstly, to say a thank you to the cross-party working group that's been put together to look at the refugees. I'm pleased that having attended in the West Midlands, but I think when you had last full council to meet there, it showed what a good footing we were on and how much good work had been done in Shropshire already. But I think we need to make it clear to not only to ourselves but also to the public the areas and the arena that we're working in, because there's been a lot of misinformation within the press and media, a lack of understanding of what's meant by the different groups. So if I could just refer to 1.2, it talks about firstly the refugees. The refugees is talking about the Syrian resettlement programme, and I will go into that into what we're doing. It also mentions asylum seekers and then 2 different groups of unaccompanied children. And they are distinctive 4 groups, but I think there's a lack of understanding of what it means. The refugees is what it says, it's the Syrian refugees. We've agreed by the cross-party working group that we could take up to 10 families, that's about 50 people. Just to put that in perspective, the population of Shropshire is around 300,000 people. At this point in time, we're talking about 50 people coming here. I'm very comfortable with that because the Syrian refugees come what I would say is fully funded. The first year we get a significant amount of money, you'll see in the report, and that does not include medical expenses or education, so they're on top. And that's all paid out of the overseas aid budget. From years 2 to 5, it's a sliding scale, and clearly that's to encourage us to make sure that those people are found employment and are looking after themselves. So as I say, I'm quite comfortable with that, and I think we're in a good position to do the work. We've looked as part of the working group, where should they be housed? Well, we will not be using affordable housing leader because we have significant numbers on our own waiting list, around 7,500. So we think it's appropriate that we should go into the private sector, and that's what we've done. We've chosen Shrewsbury and Oswestry, not at random, but for a genuine reason, and that's because they have active Syrian support groups on the ground that want to assist in what we're doing, so it feels the right place to be. We've identified 3 properties in Oswestry, and they've already been checked out by Westminster Police, so they're comfortable from their location point of view. They'll also be checked out by the Fire and Rescue Service to ensure they conform from a safety point of view. And I anticipate that those properties will be filled towards the end of April, which is the second phase of the government's refugee scheme. Just moving on slightly to asylum seekers, this is where the misinformation is coming. Asylum seekers, we've been approached by the government, as is every local authority in England, to say, would we take any asylum seekers? And I'm not going to frighten people by figures, but it would come with significant figures if you said yes. But we met with the Home Office last week to talk through the numbers and talk about the process. And we've indicated through you, Leader, and the discussion that we've had, that we will not be taking any asylum seekers at the present time. And we gave good reasons for that, because asylum seekers are, I think there's a list of the countries they come from. I think the main ones we had were Eritrea, Sudanese, Iraqis, I could go on, there's a massive list. They're all being dealt with through private sector, so G4S, Serco, and we have no responsibility for their housing. But the housing they would take up would be what I call the 1-bedrooms, the bed-sits, and I suppose the houses of multiple occupation, which again, if you look at our own housing list, we have 7,500 people list I indicated before. 3,500 of those are people that require small properties, 1-bedrooms, etc. And a lot of that is due to the welfare reform, the bedroom tax, if I can call it that. So we made it quite clear that we would be competing, or they would be competing with us for the private sector properties that we already need, and they accepted that. So my answer to them was that we were not prepared to take asylum seekers at this time. The next question was, does that mean you won't take them at all? And I have to say, Leader, that clearly we can't say that at this point in time. I wouldn't expect to see anything in Shropshire for at least 18 months, 2 years, because we need to make sure that the Syrian refugee setup works. I'm confident that it will, and I think, we've got all the things in place that we need. Moving on quickly to the unaccompanied asylum seeker children. The next category, there's 2 categories. The first category is those children that are in Kent, and some of you may be aware of this, some of you may not. There are currently 2,000 unaccompanied children in Kent, and Kent have approached every authority again to see if they can assist. We have said that we will assist, but we are talking very small figures. Leader, through you, we're talking 3 children, and I think we have 3 already with us that made their own way here. So 6 children in total out of 2,000, I don't think is a big ask. It's about Shropshire doing its bit to assist other authorities. The final category is the unaccompanied asylum seeker children currently in Europe, and we're told there are another 3,000 in the same condition over there. We've made no approach on that, we've not been approached on that, so it's as it stands. So I've gone through the 4 sections for you. We want to take the first 10 families or 50 people as Syrian refugees. We're saying no to asylum seekers at this point in time. And I'm happy to take questions. Leader, on the part of the paper.
I think Madge's first.
Just to say, I hear what you're saying, I agree with everything in principle. I've just got a couple of points to raise, and that's really to do with the provision of health. And many years ago when I was much younger, I was in a casualty assistant position, and we had major problems in an emergency when people came in who could not speak English, and I hadn't got the staff to actually interpret for them. I used to send somebody running around the hospital to find somebody who spoke a particular dialect that they spoke. So I want to be assured that that is flagged up to SAF, and to Stropdock, for instance, out of hours, and that there is a clear line of availability for an interpreter should those occasions arise.
Do you want to take that now? Or?
Yeah, if I may, because that's an excellent question and there's certainly a decent answer to it as well. Firstly, what I should have said was that the 50 that will be coming from the camps, they are being vetted in a number of ways. Firstly, they will be actually being educated on British citizenship is the first part, which I think is important. The second one is they're all being health screened for illnesses, so things like TB will have been identified and dealt with, or they won't come if they've got those diseases. And the third one, I think, which probably not on to it, but one I picked up in the West Midlands, which I thought was important to say. There's a gentleman there that challenged about they're only coming here to get the benefits and they don't want to work. And there was a Canadian lady there who'd been out in the camp in Lebanon, and she said actually the Syrian people don't get benefits. The only way they survive is through work. So their ethic is work. I think it's important that we understand that. Coming back to when they get here, part of the process is that we're setting up a significant support to go with them on the front. One of that is about speaking English and interpreters, translators, etc. to be with them. So it's all part of the package. Also, we're told that of those that come across with issues, they say currently about 20% of the people have significant issues, that they will not be pushed all in one direction, so they'll be spread out across a number of authorities. There's also a separate pot of money, additional money on top of what I've said, of our money, health, plus education. If there are anybody with significant health issues, there's another pot of money that we can go to. So I think, to be fair, Mads, they have covered off all the avenues that you're talking of.
Okay, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I echo everything that Mel Price has said? This is a really cross-party group who is looking at this, and welcome the way that Mel Price has chaired it, and can assure the Cabinet that all the agencies in Shropshire sit around the table. Police, fire, health, education, all the Shropshire Council agencies as well as outside agencies, and it is good that we can work together for the benefit of these poor families.
Well, before I ask David Miller to talk, we thought David Miller actually ought to be on any further work on this from the safeguarding of children's side, because children are actually mentioned in that. David.
Well, to add, then, Leader, to what you've just said, yes, it is item C on the recommendations. I don't have an issue with it, but I do think it's important that, as the portfolio member responsible for the look after children, that I am present and part of those considerations.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak on it? No. Will you move?
Yeah, Mr. Leader, I'd like to move recommendations
A to F.
A to F, and at the same time, I'm quite happy for Councillor Mitter to join us on the group.
Okay, is that seconded?
I'll second.
All those in favour, please shout. Is anybody against? That's carried. Thank you. Now we'll come on to somebody move exclusion of the press and public. Seconded. All those in favour? Right.